Hits 1-2 strike. Pitch in the air to right field. Forget about it! Walk-off home run for Andrew Chet.
5, 4, 3, 2. Crank it, Jerry.
Welcome to Into the Wild, the official podcast of the Washington Wild Pigs.
What do you hear? What do you say?
It's the best sports podcast in the world. Wait, is that true?
If you're committed enough, you can make any story. I once convinced a woman that I was Kevin Costner, and it worked because I believed it.
Now, here's your host, Kyle Dawson.
Did you get the popcorn?
Whoa, didn't see you there. Hey, hello, welcome. We are back on Into the Wild, the official podcast of the Washington Wild Things, here to wrap up the 22nd season of Wild Things baseball in the MLB Partnered Frontier League, the largest and longest running independent baseball league in the country, and it's grown since we last spoke. What a season it was. What a year 2024 has been for the Washington Wild Things. And of course, it's on the 2025. Season tickets are on sale now. You can call 866-456-WILD to secure your seats. Obviously, all the information is available on our website as well. And we march on. If you were with us prior to the season, and then, of course, at the beginning of the year as well on these podcast platforms, welcome back. Maybe it's your first time stumbling on the podcast or your first time here in general. If so, welcome to you as well. I'm Vice President of Baseball Operations and play-by-play voice of the Wild Things, Kyle Dawson, back with you. A hearty good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, friends. And if you didn't miss any of the previous episodes of the podcast, good for you. If you did, you can always go back and listen to interviews with us, Kent Colvey, Tommy and Jay Caulfield, Zach Strecker, Nick Ward, among others. You can always go back and watch or listen to those episodes cataloged and archived on whatever podcast platform you're tuned into us on. We're available on most major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple, iHeart, and Amazon Music. And we're also available in video form on the Washington Wild Things YouTube page. Appreciate you stopping by and tuning in. On today's wrap-up episode, I'll be joined by skipper Tom Vaeth and general manager Tony Buccilli as we try to put a bow on what was a great summer both for the organization and, of course, on the field as well for the ball club. Obviously, it did not end how we wanted it to, in basically 2 wins shy of the ultimate goal in the Frontier League Championship Series. And, of course, it was in stunning fashion if you follow it along. But a season that was still tremendous and certainly deserves its flowers. So let's talk about the season a little bit, shall we? The Wild Things, 67 wins in the regular season, a new franchise record. Along with that, and along the way, numerous Frontier League weekly awards. Several guys competed in Quebec City as members of the Frontier League West Division All-Star team. Team records set along the way by Kobe Foster and others. Caleb McNeely named Frontier League MVP. Postseason All-Stars in Caleb McNeely. Kyungju Kim is the relief pitcher. Tyreek Reed is the league's postseason All-Star designated hitter. He also won the batting title, which was the first batting championship in Wild Things history for the Frontier League. And Alex Bouchier's, of course, Coach of the Year as well. Would be remiss if we didn't mention him. And the work that Tom Vaeth and the guys in that clubhouse did to put together what was the best season on the field, regular season at least, in Wild Things history, and that's 22 seasons now competing in Frontier League play. 4 Wild Things made it to the big leagues, or in one case back to the big leagues, doubling the number of former Wild Things to do that in franchise history, which was tremendous. James Meeker debuting with the Milwaukee Brewers in June. Spencer Bivens followed with the San Francisco Giants and enjoyed a pretty long stay in Major League Baseball this year with San Fran. Of course, Austin Kitchen bounced around, was called up by the Colorado Rockies, ended up making his debut for the Miami Marlins and finished the season in the Seattle Mariners organization. And then Isaac Mattson, who pitched here in 2022, re-debuted in the major leagues with the Pittsburgh Pirates after originally debuting prior to his time in Washington with the Baltimore Orioles. But impressive stuff from all those guys. And of course, we're super proud of them and supportive of their efforts as they continue their baseball careers. In the stadium, the club welcomed more than 106,000 fans through the gates, which included 8 sellouts and 51 openings. That attendance figure is the organization's best since 2010. And man, you guys brought the energy all season long, and we are very, very thankful for that. We, of course, also honored fallen soldiers of our country and their Gold Star families before every single home game this season with our partnership with the Legacies Alive Foundation, led by Dr. Andy Lucas and his team. The Wild Things maintained our status as a fabric in the community, supporting local youth associations, schools, students, student athletes, STEM projects, much more, along with a robot throwing out a first pitch. We had school and camp days go off the charts and were really successful outings. Our sponsorship and partnerships saw a rise as we've got over 100 companies and organizations continuing to support your experience here at the ballpark and the Washington Wild Things as a whole, our involvement with them and the community. And we did a ton of nonprofit work with donations, fundraisers, and more. I could keep going and going and going. But anyways, let's really ramp this episode up. Following a quick break, we'll welcome President and General Manager of the Washington Wild Things, Tony Buccilli. Welcome back. Let's wrap up the 2024 season right here on Into the Wild.
Fresh off another division title, 4 former players reaching the bigs in a 22nd summer of bringing affordable, family-friendly entertainment to fans, the Washington Wild Things are geared up for more. The Wild Things are deeply committed to being a pillar in the community you call home and to giving back to local students, athletes, and Western PA families. Call 724-250-7654, head to WashingtonWildThings.com for info and to purchase season ticket plans on sale now. The Washington Wild Things, your hometown team.
All right, welcome back to Into the Wild. This is our, kind of our season 2 premiere as we wrap up the 2024 season and get back into bi-weekly episodes, at least is the plan here for the podcast for the Washington Wild Things. Kyle Dawson back with you, joined by Tony Buccilli, the president general manager of the ball club here and organization. To start, Tony, I guess we ripped the Band-Aid off. Obviously not how we wanted to finish in the championship series, and you come up a little bit short. But what a tremendous series it was. What a tremendous playoff run it was, and overall 2024 season for the team, at least in both senses, but on the field especially.
Well, baseball's going to happen. And, certainly you can look at that series and a lot of guys who performed at a high level and embrace the moment and just kind of played even some of their best baseball in those spots. And it's a team game. Things happen. Certainly not how we always want seasons to finish. But you look back of what the franchise was able to do, the collective group, guys individually, just kind of raise the bar and kind of continue to set the standard of what the organization does and kind of how we want ourselves represented on and off the field. And so you control what you can control. I look at it and as frustrating or disappointing. Realistically, on paper, there was not much more we could do with the team. I'm pretty satisfied with the collective group that was there. I don't look back at it and say, man, if we only upgraded here or we did this. I think I probably had different opinions over previous years of, hey, if I would have got this guy or if this would have happened. At the end of the day, that 24-man roster and where we were was sufficient enough in my mind and definitely showed to be difference makers from day one of the season. So I chalked that one up to kind of just baseball and the sports playing out over a series and certain things are out of your control. So
yeah, I think generally speaking, the crowd and the fan base here in Washington and Quebec too, but we saw a bigger development in people. I don't want to say caring because I think they've always cared, but definitely more people, a lot more invested in what was going on down the stretch there as you set records, both from a player standpoint and the regular season wins end into the playoffs to sweep Lake Erie and to have the crowd that we did for Game 2 of the DS. into the championship series and the watch party folks that came out and watched here at the ballpark. Obviously, again, not how they wanted to go home at the end of that series, but I think we saw a pretty big uptick in people's interest in the on-field product, which is a nice sight for us baseball people.
I think anytime you introduce our product, our players, just baseball at a level where I think people genuinely enjoy it. I mean, there's a lot more action. There's a lot more balls in play. It kind of breaks away from where maybe Major League Baseball plays and kind of how they collect 27 outs. We play at a level and our players are engaged at a different level that I think anytime we can put a new fan in the seats or a new fan in front of our product, there's always that fuse to be lit and for them to become invested and feel like they're part of it and see kind of the up and downs of a guy individually. And it's just a different type of intimacy at the ballpark, I believe. And that's kind of our pushes. We always kind of expand our reach, get further engaged in the community, spread the radius of where we're really drawing fans from or getting more personal with fans here locally in the county. Once they kind of experience who these guys are, how they play, the type of attention we put on our day-to-day operations, that instant growth from a 1 or 2 timer as a fan to somebody who becomes invested, I think that's just something natural because of the attention to detail we put on things.
I think it helps in a city that is, I guess, there's no way to sugarcoat it, that's starved for a winning sports franchise right now. I think no matter who you look at, obviously the Pirates are what they've been in the last 30 years or so. The Penguins have been good, but they've missed the playoffs the last couple of years. The Steelers are kind of the same way, and the fan base looking for a more significant winner. And if this product down here is an outlet to that and what kind of this area is kind of really generally known for, I think that can be a good thing for the organization and the team on the field as well.
Yeah, certainly something here, especially with the organization, the first 10 plus years or whatever of just being a consistent dominant force, being able to get back to that where people expect that from us and expect a winning product. It's certainly a lot easier to pay. I mean, those clubs have the double barrel challenge of they're charging premium dollars where taking a family out to do something like that for $300 or $400 is even more at risk when your team is kind of treading water. So we kind of have both those things going for us on that end of, hey, absolutely, we want to lean into being the competitive, dominant organization that I think we all hold ourselves accountable to, but also the factor of, hey, we want a family to be able to, regardless if we're 500 or we're competing for a playoff spot or we're like we were last year in first place, we want to eliminate those hurdles of financial costs that maybe the other clubs can't do. And I know me personally, a lot of our communication this offseason is kind of leaning into the mindset that this is their team. You don't have ownerships or groups or organizations or stakeholders that are calling all the shots to where your organization becomes and what are they going to do? Anyone who comes to the ballpark here hopefully feels like this is their club, this is their team, their support, local businesses support. That all feeds kind of our day to day and feeds kind of what we listen to and the decisions we make moving forward with the organization. They're not stakeholders here internationally, nationally that are pulling strings. The people here you see on a day-to-day basis are the people here that are listening and making decisions of what we do and how we do it. So hopefully that power, empowering our fans, empowering the people who care about the organization and the local community and local county, hopefully you feel kind of that personal pride planting your flag that, hey, the Wild Things are my team, and I take a lot of pride in that.
We'll dig on this episode for those of you that are tuned in a little bit deeper into the roster and kind of things that happened on the field with Tom Vaeth here later in the episode, the manager of the team. But a couple guys I want to hit on with you before we get into a little bit more organization talk. Obviously, Caleb McNeely had a tremendous season. To win MVP in this league is not something that is easy to do. Obviously, he had a great year and was, arguably the best hitter on the best team during the regular season, which makes that argument a little bit easier. But not since 2018, the Wild Things have had an MVP, and that is only the third time this franchise has ever had that award come in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can speak enough to kind of how Caleb went about business, and he'll probably be the first one to tell you. I mean, the grind of a 96-game season makes it even more challenging, as much as it is about performance and hitting in big spots and driving in runs and stealing bases and talent and skill set that he has to push yourself and what it physically takes to be out there. Hours in the training room, rehab. I mean, he dealt with his own stint of needing to miss some time and still be able to kind of earn the MVP status. I mean, you can't speak to it enough. I mean, he's in a really unique spot. I mean, before Caleb, who's comes from his background, the last MVP here was a former first rounder. So I think it speaks to, I mean, you can kind of connect those dots as you want. James Harris, a former first rounder, Caleb McNeely, a college undrafted free agent coming here, and for both of them to perform at an MVP level, it speaks to kind of even just to kind of how nuanced and how tight the levels of play and the talents of players are. I mean, talent-wise, how much difference is there between a James Harris and a Caleb McNeely? And the draft is telling them drastically they're different type of players. But it speaks to him. I mean, certainly a ton of skill set, ton of ability. He definitely flashed. He probably exceeded expectations that we've had for him. But he played at a high level. Was a great ambassador of the product and the brand. And teammates love playing with him. And certainly a piece that hopefully moving forward, it's just you kind of put them on their platform to go out there and hopefully not only replicate but take another step forward and continue to show scouts, hey, you were wrong when you didn't draft me. You were wrong when you never signed me as an undrafted free agent, and hopefully shine a light on his skill set moving forward.
First batting champion in Wild Things history. Tyreek missed an entire month and hit 341. Obviously, he came on much stronger in the power department once the knee got figured out a little bit there as he got activated in July. But a really good season from him, and what hopefully, I mean, for fans maybe isn't his last with the Wild Things. Of course, things can always shake out a different way, but a really good, strong season from a guy that hadn't played in a couple years.
Yeah, I mean, Tom will remember this directly. I've said going into it, I said Tyree Reed is our biggest X factor. He could come in and hit like he's done in the past and be an enormous boost. He could be a guy with whatever, a year and a half off or whatever because of injury and everything, that he could not make the team out of spring training. And I mean, that's just the real side of baseball and real kind of review of where some of these guys are just medically or just time off. And I mean, he had his hiccup, he missed a month, and we were able to kind of stay in the mix, and he worked very hard of getting his body back in form, still seeing live pitching, being a contributor when he could get back out there. Obviously, we had to manage days on and off his knee and being able to run late pitch running for him in latent spots and all that stuff. So, but I mean, he approached his stuff the right way. To his credit, he never tried to change who he was. He never tried to do too much, and he was just as happy and content and felt as productive hitting a line drive up the middle as he did hitting a ball 450 feet. So guys like that who buy into the team concept and held other guys accountable to kind of just playing their game, those are the guys that you can build around. Those are the guys that you really appreciate that They weren't focused on themselves, and I remember vividly seeing anytime he didn't do a job or struck out, the frustration on his mind or on his face that he was solely bought into doing whatever for the team. That whenever he felt like he let them down on that front, he was more frustrated at that than probably anything. So we appreciate that. He knows that we gave every aspect to be supportive toward him, and definitely a rebound year. Hopefully he can build on.
Couple pitchers quickly to hit on again. I want to talk with much more organization with Tony here on the podcast, but anchors in the starting rotation. This pitching staff was all really good for the most part. But Zach Kirby, Kobe Foster, both with their tremendous years in their own right. Kobe, new single-season strikeout record and career strikeout record. Zach was top 3 in the league in ERA, and then out of the bullpen, a rookie goes from maybe being a long man for the first week of the year to being the league's best closer in Kyung-Joo Kim.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Kobe's kind of proven his record here in the league and been able to be productive at a high level, and those things kind of he's kind of accepted those expectations and been able to kind of carry that on. And I think he's always kind of evolved himself from where he was right from college, but he's always focused on being productive and being super competitive of getting wins. For Kirby, a guy that we saw a lot of talent in, and I think was kind of interesting. I guess in 2023 he didn't have a win, which I thought was interesting because he was always in games. We saw the flashes of the stuff, and he was able to carry over what he did in college here professionally and develop his strikeout pitch, be that inning eater. I think he took a next step of kind of missing barrels and taking guys' aggressiveness against them. So big step in his development. Certainly a guy that I think the league kind of circled on, hey, who is this guy? Because he kind of came out of the dark maybe as a league wide, but I think he's a guy on our end that we looked at being a big contributor moving forward. And Kim was, I know there were expectations. I know there was interest and hype around kind of what he did in college. I mean, for that kid to willingly accept a different role than he's probably done in his entire life, and buy into it, that speaks a lot to his character and his team mentality. A lot of guys might have said, hey, I only want to be a starter. I came here to start. I only was a starter. Leave me there. That's where I'm comfortable. He stepped in and kind of put his little twist on closing and being a strike thrower and missing bats at a different way and a different rate and really focusing into that 1 inning pressure spot. So he did very special things here. Look forward to kind of seeing where his development continues as all of these guys kind of get rightful attention from MLB scouts and teams that are saying, hey, this guy performed at a high level. We want to know more about him. I know in the playoffs and stuff like that, guys and scouts seeing them more firsthand. So their numbers speak for themselves. They were otherworldly. They were far and above. They got their rewards for a reason. A lot of them put up video game like numbers, and they deserved kind of all the awards they got. And we had a lot of other guys that were all-star caliber and were certainly big contributors that are hopefully in their mind they're pushing to make the next step. So, but yeah, you look back at it and you recognize and you appreciate their efforts and their hard work paid off.
From an organization standpoint, 51 openings, more than 106,000 fans. It's the best attendance for the organization since 2010 announce-wise, which is a pretty big deal. Obviously, we've seen that uptick, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, but to have that kind of turnout, that kind of support means a lot to us, and I think it means that this organization is still a fabric of this community, and that doesn't even include all the youth associations, the reading clubs, camps, schools that come out, little league teams, what have you, all the groups that come out. It doesn't really include them, but it shows a big piece of why this organization and why the Wild Things are a pillar of the tri-state area.
Well, yeah, I know when I communicate out to people, I mean, our numbers that we typically bring in here in the venue collectively with everything to do is about 600,000 people. So I'll never diminish the 150 or so that 150,000 or so that are at Wild Things games and supporting our efforts and being part of the community. And yeah, this venue is here as a community asset, whatever, 3-4 times fold here of hosting people and making memories here at the ballpark, whether it's a baseball game or something else. And I mean, there are a lot of other minor league teams or clubs at our level that would never sniff 20 plus years. And so for our fans and the people in the area, we put a lot of work in. We're working here year round just so we can continue to do this for you and for them to feel like there's a venue in their backyard or right down the street or a couple exits away that are them and understand them and is a hopefully a mirror to what Washington County or Western PA is all about, whether that's on the field, off the field, and bringing people together. So that's why I've been leaning into hey, this is your team. This is what Western PA is. I'm Western PA. You're Western PA. Everybody on our organization has roots or ties here. You're not getting propaganda or a story from people who didn't grow up here or didn't have some type of story to tell of what got them invested or what got them part of the organization. So hopefully that continues for another 20 plus, 40 plus years, and baseball continues to be a root of this county and the community and in this area. And we'll try to continue to carry that torch and hopefully continue to grow. I mean, we do a ton of huge programs to make baseball affordable, fun, connect the dots, educational support. We're not closed off of any avenue to kind of get people out to the ballpark and let them experience and let them spend quality time with their family or loved ones. And we're always looking to try to grow and spread out that radius. And hopefully here we can continue to touch more lives and to impact more students and kids and families to kind of break down other barriers and get them the social responsibility, the social aspect of things that are a day-to-day challenge. So we work towards that every day, and hopefully people recognize our efforts and just become a little bit more, a little bit bigger of a Wild Things fan, and they help us. I mean, I guess I'll end on that is the word of mouth, people's experiences here, the good times you have, the pictures you post on Facebook, those do wonders for our organization far beyond any paid advertising or social media that we can do. You going out there and telling people about what we do and how we do it, and that positive word of mouth does tenfold of what we could do with our limited funds of advertising. So continue to do that. Continue to talk about the Wild Things. Continue to be an ambassador or carry that torch for us as you guys go out and about within the community, and we'll do our part delivering at a high level.
People say, what do you guys do during the off season? There's no games.
Yeah. It's a different type of grind. I mean, I personally don't like it as much. Even though the hours are twice as long, I'd rather be here 9 a.m. till midnight and have a game and see the crowds flood in and people excited and the energy at the ballpark than a 9 to 5, 8-hour planning, development, making room, emails, phone calls, new relationships, kind of building. I'd rather be in the execution phase because that's how I'm wired. I'm more comfortable at the ballpark than I am probably anywhere else. So hopefully everybody's ready, and I guess I'll count it down. What do we got? Like 6.5 months till more baseball, so we'll get there.
We will. Do want to ask too, and I can't kicking myself a little bit that I forgot about this at the beginning. 4 former Wild Things make either their big league debut or get back to the big leagues. And I think that, and we talked about it throughout the season on the quick pregame interviews, but for James Meeker and Spencer Bivens and Austin Kitchen and then Isaac Mattson there right after the season came to an end to achieve that feat and reach that dream, or, go back to that dream in Isaac's case, really cool for us in all kind of unique situations.
Well, I'll always, that's the education side of it, that fans in a pro sports city, we try. That's probably, everyone asks me, what's the hardest thing about working in minor league baseball at this level? And it's being in a pro sports city and being able to explain to them the level of play and how close it really is. You're talking about 4 guys who made the major leagues, and 3 of them who've never made it were not drafted. And they carved their path, 3 or 4 years later from being a Wild Thing to being in the big leagues. And in Isaac's case, being a former big leaguer going back. But these players, talent-wise, are not very far off from big league players or the quasi-professional talent that are expected from MLB, NFL, NHL. The only thing that's a difference at our level is the consistency factor. For anybody who is out there, you're seeing 95, 96, 97, 98 at the ballpark. It's not you're going to see 84 and that's all you're going to see. The level of play here is professional level. You're going to see guys who throw harder here than you do on the Pirates or at an MLB game. But the only thing holding them back is the consistency factor that that every athlete struggles with, whether it's high school, college, pro. The consistency factor is the biggest variable, and that's what they're all refining. So that's ton of credit to those guys of working so hard and kind of refining that consistency. They all worked to make their stuff better and make it play at the major league level. And they're great ambassadors to our current guys as we sign new players. Hey, I have 4 guys who were just with us a couple of years ago that are in the big leagues. That cannot be said by a lot of other clubs at our league. There are some clubs who never had 4, period, and let alone 4 in 1 year. And saying that here in this area as fans and as we grow our fan base and educate people of what the Wild Things are and how good these players are is, these guys are on the brink. These are up and coming guys for a reason. These are guys where we prioritize guys to play here because of upside and ability and being able to saying that they're this close of kind of breaking down that wall. So hopefully for those guys, they take a lot of pride. I know I talked to all of them, and they take a lot of pride in their time here and what they did and the opportunity. And hopefully fans, casual, novice, diehard Wild Things fans, you understand it and you offer your support or you offer your fandom to these guys because of the level of play. That's always one that strikes a nerve with me. If these guys are indie guys, they're nothing. They're whatever. Okay, well, 95% of minor league guys never make the big leagues, and so I'm not telling you the 1% of 1% are still damn good, and I'm sure a lot of them would love to shut those guys up and show them with their play that, hey, go in there and see 92, 95, and don't tell me I'm just as good as that guy or this guy. These guys are just developing at their own rate.
Last thing, season tickets are on sale for 2025. I know this is a 2024 recap episode, but season tickets are on sale. Hopefully we'll have a schedule here in the next couple of days. If you're hearing this in the week of the 14th is next Monday. If you're hearing this week, and it might not be released until then, depending on that. But hopefully we'll have a schedule soon. Season tickets are on sale. Schedule comes out. Groups and premium areas can go on sale. And as the promotional schedule starts to take shape a little bit, kind of give people a pitch to take that next level in their fandom and become a season ticket member with the club.
I think always try to explain, it's like the same thing as we try to educate our fans about our players. It's educating them on kind of the offers we have. We're not looking. We don't expect people to all of a sudden, but hey, come in here, buy a full season. You never experienced us. You've never been to a game. You haven't been to a game in 10 years. Come and buy a full season. What we really try to introduce is utilizing our programs and our packages to save you money. I think that's kind of the way I pound on the drum with how I like to get information out is, hey, you come to 5 or 6 games, or you or your family come to 3 or 4, buy a 13-game plan. Those 13-game plans are super flexible. They're not designated to a certain game. They're not designated to a certain seat. You want to buy a 13-game plan and come to, if you're a single individual and want to come to 13 games and just come to sit in your seat and enjoy it, great. If you want a family of 4 and you want to use them and come to 3 different games, you have that flexibility with all of our plans as flexible plans. And I always push the biggest instant savings that you're going to get. You're going to save on parking. You're going to get free parking right off the bat by buying a plan, and save you instantly $15, $50, however many games you come to. If you come to 3 games and use the 4-pack each, you're going to save $15 right off the bat, let alone the savings you're going to get on the ticket price. So we always encourage it. We promote it to our senior slugger programs, our kids eat free programs. These are opportunities for you to save even more money than you already do. This is not something to try to lock you in and feel like, oh, I'm obligated to go to every game. Use it to save money. Use it to save discounts. I know I think it's like 20% in the team store you save some money on. Between the parking and the ticket dollars alone that you save, you're going to walk away with probably like $50 off of what you typically would spend. We try to encourage great perks. We've always tried to reconnect you. You're invited to the picnic with the team. You get some free food. You get that engagement with that interaction with these guys on a personal level, which is always a lot different at our level than elsewhere. We try to give you some good merchandise. We get you a t-shirt to show that you're a fan. So that t-shirt alone, what's that, $15, $20 within itself, just as a piece of merchandise. So it's not really about, hey, going crazy, locking you in. It's all about, we want to give you opportunities to save money. So hopefully look at this as good Christmas gifts. Look at this as birthday gifts, Father's Day, Mother's Day. These are ways that you can kind of save some cash, enjoy some time at the ballpark, get everybody together. We'd rather you spend $150 here and feel like you're part of what we do than to spend $240 and walk away from it and say, oh, I'll worry about that next year. If we can save you a decent amount of money and give you some extra perks, that's why our staff's here year round, to offer that customer service.
That's Tony Buccilli on Into the Wild, our 2024 recap episode with a little bit of a peek to 2025 and what's going on. Next is manager Tom Vaeth here on Into the Wild.
Fresh off another division title, 4 former players reaching the bigs in a 22nd summer of bringing affordable, family-friendly entertainment to fans, the Washington Wild Things are geared up for more. The Wild Things are deeply committed to being a pillar in the community you call home and to giving back to local students, athletes, and Western PA families. Call 724-250-7654, head to WashingtonWildThings.com for info and to purchase season ticket plans on sale now. The Washington Wild Things, your hometown team.
Back on Into the Wild, the episode recapping the 2024 campaign as promised. Tom Vaeth, will now finish his 4th year as the skipper of the Washington Wild Things, joins us to talk the 2024 campaign. Tom, we've had conversations since the season ended. Obviously, it's not the way that really any of us wanted the season to end. Obviously, we'd have liked to have a couple more wins there, but I think all in all, just to start, generally speaking, an extremely successful season for this group.
Yeah, there's a lot to be proud of. A lot of things were accomplished this year, a lot of great things, and a lot of individual awards. Unfortunately, the ultimate goal, the team success, kind of eluded us there at the end.
Let's talk about that championship series just a little bit, and even the general playoff run. To get what you got in the 2 games against Lake Erie on the mound, I think extremely impressive. And then the game 2 kind of onslaught offensively here in front of a sold out crowd at the Wild Things Park, and then to run into the championship series, you grabbed that first win. And it wasn't like it was beatings in any of the next 3 games. They were all, one thing goes wrong, other thing goes right, away from being extremely competitive. And I mean, listen, you're a strike away twice from game 5 of that series as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've been asked about this a lot since it happened, and it's tough. I mean, it takes a little while to get over it, but we played well throughout that series. I mean, if you really want to break it down, I don't think anybody will argue that we were the better team and outplayed them 33 out of the 36 innings in that series. Unfortunately, the 3 innings they won from us are the ones that won the games for them. Look at second inning of game 2. They kind of got away from us. They put the touchdown up on us. That was the difference maker in that game. And then obviously everybody knows what happens in games 3 and game 3 in the 7th inning, and then happened in the 9th inning in game 4. But you don't take any consolation. Played them for 33 out of 36, and job done, and we fell short. But it's like you said, we were 2 pitches away from forcing a game 5, and I was very confident that if we got to a game 5, they weren't going to beat Kobe. Unfortunately, we didn't get there.
To go back to the point you mentioned earlier, and Tony and I talked about this earlier in the episode for those that are tuned in, to get the individual success over the course of the regular season that you got, obviously a lot of that stuff is going to lead to 67 wins in the regular season, which is a franchise record, and a win or 2 away from a league record in that standpoint. But I guess we can start with Caleb. His MVP performance, there's only been 3 players who have done that in team history now. And to do it, Tony brought up the point, the last Wild thing to do it, James Harris is a former first-round pick, and Caleb's a completely different story than that. And to have the season that he had, I don't know that maybe we expected quite that from Caleb, but I think we certainly expected him to take a big step forward, and he obviously did.
Well, that's what you want from all your guys, to get better from year to year. And he definitely came into camp ready to go, ready to prove himself. And he started that early in the year and continued it all the way through. And to put up those kind of numbers, to win an MVP, or go from that, but like anything else, I'm sure he has goals to get even better and put up better numbers. And but it was just another example of what kind of magical season we had. And listen, you only have magical seasons when people do the extraordinary, and Caleb winning an MVP as a rookie, and we can go down the list, right? And, Kim winning rookie pitcher of the year, and doing what he did as a first year. Not only as a first year rookie, but a first year ever pitching in that role as a reliever. And Tyreek winning the batting title. And there's a lot of guys that did extraordinary things for us this year. And again, those are the kind of performances and that you need from guys throughout your up and down your roster, and in order to have the kind of season that we did. And you mentioned talking with Tony. I was talking to him the other day, and I don't want to lose sight of the fact, because we lost, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that we had an historical season. I mean, we made history. I'm pretty sure that no other team in Frontier League history has ever had the kind of road record we did. there's not many teams, maybe one or two in the whole history of the league that won more games than we did in the course of the season. And so, yeah, I mean, it was special. Maybe that's why it hurts even more, is the fact that when you have these kind of years, knowing that they don't come around very often, you'd have liked to have seen it all the way through.
I think to that point, obviously at the end of Game 4, people, Brendan Nail especially, other guys visibly, I mean, if people were watching the stream, they'd have seen it. If they'd have been there, they'd have seen what that clubhouse kind of looks like after that moment of defeat. What do you, I mean, if you can share it all, I don't know if you even did, having not been down there, what do you say to that group after that kind of loss and defeat, after what was obviously the conversations leading up to that series is what's trying to season it has been, but the job's not done yet.
Yeah, there wasn't much to say, and it was just very, very quiet. A lot of guys just kind of slumped into their lockers. Just a lot of self-reflection over what just happened and the realization that it was over for us. Their lack of play. So it was very just a state of belief. Easier to take if you feel like you got outplayed and they were just a better team, but not trying to take anything away from Quebec. I mean, listen, they're three-time champion right there. But I feel like, I'm pretty sure everybody in that clubhouse felt like we were the better team. And yeah, there was a whole lot to be said. I don't even think they wanted their time getting their uniforms off. It was tough leaving that locker room that night.
Yeah. To jump back to the overarching point of the really tremendous season that these guys put together, I think what people, and we talked about this a little bit, I think earlier in the year, but I don't know that people realized how, and maybe winning breeds this, and having success on the field, multiple guys doing really good things breeds it a little bit, but I don't know that people realized how tight-knit and close this group was compared to maybe even what you've had here with the couple other division championship teams. This was a group that really enjoyed being around each other, and I think that led to on-field success.
We did have guys that held each other accountable. And those are all the ingredients you need to have a successful product on the field. And you can have all the talent you want in the world and on your roster, but if guys aren't holding each other accountable and every day, then it's just not going to work out for you. But we did that. We had the right group. I know no one's going to take comfort in this and me saying this, but this by far, this was the team to do it. There's no question. And it got brought up to us a lot before the series started that, I think it was 5 times that the team had been in the finals and hadn't got it done yet or whatnot. And what do I think? What can I do different, or what will these guys do different? And as I answered that question before Game 1, it was just, I didn't really care what happened before. I was just really focused on what this club could do and what this roster had laying in front of them. And like I said, as good as 21 was and the magical ride we went on, even the 22 team, better overall record and whatnot, I still think this was by far the best makeup of a roster that we've had. That was definitely our best chance. And when you have that, like I said, when you have guys that are pushing each other, guys that are they're seeing what their teammates are doing, like, you talked about McNeely, and we touched on Tyreek and Kim, but everybody was wanting to be just as good as Kim. Guys like Tommy Caulfield, he pushed to put up those kind of numbers, and even young kids like Ethan Wilder, who when they got here, he wanted to prove that he wanted to be on the club and fit in, and so he pushed himself. And even the additions that we made later in the year with a Brendan McElwain, who had been at higher levels, he still wanted to come in and push himself to prove that he belonged here and belonged to these guys. And That's what made it such an enjoyable group to be around every day. And hopefully if fans could see that, the way we interacted with them and the way we interacted with each other on the field. And it was just, it was a really great feeling to know that you could come to the park every day. You could come show up ready to work, knowing that on most nights you knew even before you took the field, you were better than that other team.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the other moments and one of the other things Tony and I talked about, and I think fans probably realize this too, is the energy around the stadium on home games, and especially so. I don't know if you even thought it twice about it. The Friday night that the fireworks show was canceled, that was the night that we clinched the playoffs, and that crowd was a high infectious baseball energy type of crowd. And as the season went on, and even that last home game with the doubleheader against Schaumburg, those crowds felt like they were, and I don't know, maybe this is your experience too or takeaway, at least since COVID and since you arrived, I think probably the most infectious baseball crowds that have kind of come out and been passionate about what the team was doing on the field.
Yeah, I agree with you. There was a lot of nights where I would turn to Bo and just tell him, man, this is a really good crowd tonight. Or, man, that crowd was into it. They may not have been the biggest crowd we had all year, but they were into it. And obviously that helps you when you're on the field, when you're playing. The guys feed off of that. The best example I can give you is the people that stayed around that game, that first game of the series against Sussex. And we didn't really have much going on that night, but the crowd built in that ninth inning and kept pushing. And obviously it ended with Czech hitting the walk-off home run. But no question in my time here that I thought this was a turning point for us as far as the crowd backing us and just the excitement level that was and the energy level that was in the crowd throughout the season. And, I hope that continues. I don't know if you'll remember this, but I know it's something I talked about with you when I first took the job. I wanted this to be, a real home field advantage. We saw how important that is, back at a couple other places around the league. But, I wanted us to be one of those teams before I left here or forever when my time ended, that we turned this into something that the other teams, that the visiting teams come in and feel that and feel like, shoot, not only do we have to battle the Wild Things on the field, we got to battle those fans in the stands. And so hopefully we're building that towards that. We've taken big steps towards it. I think the hard work that the people in the front office, you yourself included, have put in, the groups that we're bringing in, the nights that we've made for more of a younger crowd, those obviously they get raucous and rowdy, and those are a lot of fun to play in front of. But I also thought we took steps in the senior night. I thought the senior night was louder this year than they had been in previous years. And again, maybe that's just a product of the success we were having. Listen, I would love to win 68, 70 ball games every year. I think we all would. But the reality of that that's probably not too realistic. But I don't think it's out of the realm to sit there and say we're going to be contending for a division every year. We know that's the goal every year, to put the best possible product on the field, to build that roster the way we've done it in the past. And so hopefully we can, all that being said, we can keep moving forward with the fans and building that raucous atmosphere that Wild Things Park is rocking on a nightly basis.
Sure. I want to make sure that one guy does get his flowers, and we kind of gave him his flowers at the end of last year, thinking that he was done. Alex Boshiers, who wins a second Coach of the Year award this year after originally slated to, and I don't think we made any secret about it, he was not intended. The intention was he wasn't going to come back this year. Ends up back in the fold and goes out and only authors, and again, it's only as good as the pitchers that were out there, but to have statistically the best pitching staff in the league and bar none was, I think, a big credit to what he was doing when he got back here.
Oh, 100%. work and time into it. And, I joked with him at the end, and I felt like I could since I voted for him and pushed hard for him to get that award. But, I joking around, I told him, man, you better win this because the that we were able to provide you. If you don't win it, you ought to quit. And that being said, we had a good laugh about it, and he understood that. And it's no different from a manager, coach. It really doesn't matter. When you have good players, you're going to be a better person. You're going to be a better coach. You're going to be a better manager. And he said we had a lot of good talent this year, and but he did work his butt off. He was there to help develop these guys when guys struggled, and their guys are going to struggle throughout a year. It doesn't matter what year you're talking about, and everyone's going to have their ups and downs. But I thought he did a really good job of making sure guys, when it did struggle, it didn't last too long. And he was just there being a good sounding board for guys like him to go and kind of help him with that. And so, yeah, it just especially this being his last year, I was really glad to see him get the recognition that he deserves. And he can take that and run off into the sunset and go on to that next chapter of his life, which we're all rooting for him for. And I know it's going to be a big thing for Alex going forward.
For sure. The last thing I have for this episode, and I guess it's not really a 2024 recap, but I want to give people kind of a peek behind the curtain a little bit, is into the day-to-day of how this thing starts going again, from a roster building standpoint, because we just got done talking about how passionate this fan base has been throughout the course of the year. And I imagine there's some people, and especially those that are tuned into a podcast about the team, that are probably a little anxious to find out how things go from here.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's a lot of them thinking, well, yeah, we can just run this back again. And it's going to be that. But again, that's just not reality in what we do. And it's really hard to keep teams together year in and year out. And so the first part of this is once we kind of try to take some time to ourselves and kind of get settled. I was actually just on a phone call with Andy McCauley from Evansville, and he said the same thing. He said, I'm just now getting around to returning calls. He said, I didn't want to do anything for 2 months. And but we'll make some exploratory calls here and there. But for the most part, I don't really try to start getting the things into the roster until at least after Thanksgiving. Most guys need that time to decompress anyway. And a lot of guys will have plans, whether they're playing or not playing, but those things can change, and they often do. And so you don't want to try to pin anybody down too soon. But we'll just kind of let things play out. I do know that there are holes that we'll need to fill. I'm sure there'll be a lot of work that we'll have to do in rebuilding the bullpen. What we decide to do with some of those guys, position guys, that still remains to be seen. But there won't be too much to be done between now and when the holidays start rolling around. But and then I think you can probably talk to this a little better. But there's a calendar the league has that puts out that as far as when business needs to be done, and I think was it December 15th that the option declared and picked up. And there are some things that are coming up that we'll need to look into, but as for now, it's just reflection back on the year, and there'll be time enough coming up here shortly where we'll start what next year will maybe start looking like.
All right, that's Tom Vaeth on Into the Wild. We will wrap this puppy up next here on the podcast. As we thank you for tuning in, and again, we'll have Tom on throughout the off season. As we start to build the roster and things start to go for 2025. But appreciate the time, Tom, and hopefully the people appreciate hearing from you as well.
Fresh off another division title, 4 former players reaching the bigs in a 22nd summer of bringing affordable, family-friendly entertainment to fans, the Washington Wild Things are geared up for more. The Wild Things are deeply committed to being a pillar in the community you call home and to giving back to local students, athletes, and Western PA families. Call 724-250-7654, head to WashingtonWildThings.com for info and to purchase season ticket plans on sale now. The Washington Wild Things, your hometown team. My friends, that does it for the 2024 recap episode of Into the Wild. Another thanks to Tom Vaeth and Tony Buccilli for their time, and thanks to you for your patience on us getting back on the train with the Into the Wild podcast. After I really did attempt to do the highlights all night, every night throughout the course of the season, and we just got to a point technologically and time-wise that it did not make sense to try and continue to do that. Now, that doesn't mean that won't happen still going forward. I think those were a big hit for people that were looking for a recap of the night before with some highlights in there. So that is certainly still on the table going forward for this podcast. But apologies that we did not keep up with that. And despite at least on the broadcast, the countless times I said, we're going to do something, it didn't really never end up materializing. But again, a big thanks to you for staying patient with us. And we do plan on some big things on the podcast this offseason. And what we're hoping is to chat with a bunch of the players from this year's rosters, as well as hopefully soon the 4 history makers from a big league perspective for the franchise. And the plan as of now is for, like we promised in the beginning, bi-weekly episodes on our part of the podcast to be available on all of our usual podcast platforms. That doesn't mean that they'll happen on the same day every week. It's going to depend on interview schedules and things that are going on here in the office that make things available schedule-wise. But we do plan on a couple a month for the Into the Wild podcast throughout the course of the 2025 offseason. For now, I'd remind you that season tickets are on sale right now. We should have a schedule soon for the Frontier League with the expanded league. And a big welcome to the Mississippi Mud Monsters, as well as Down East, who has come in. The Bird Dogs had a chance to meet with some of their staff up at league meetings a few weeks ago, and excited to have them in the fold in the Frontier League. So we should have a schedule soon, which is when the group nights, premium areas, suites, picnic area, party deck, those types of nights will go on sale. And we've got all kinds of really good stuff in the works. Here from the front office's perspective, I know the planning has started for weeks now, looking at potentially some stadium upgrades, changing up kind of your experience at the ballpark a little bit, and only in the idea to continue to make that better. But season tickets are on sale now, and keep in mind that season ticket packages are the best price you're going to get to be able to make the most out of those plans throughout the course of the 2025 summer. And it does not mean that in a 13-game plan that starts at $150 that you have to come to 13 games. Those are flexible, like Tony mentioned earlier. We will assign a ticket account representative to you for 13s, 25s, and full season plans. Once you do call, if you are interested in becoming a season ticket holder or interested in renewing your already existing season ticket plans for the Wild Things, we'd, of course, encourage you to be a bigger part of the family here. By becoming a season ticket holder. We're also always looking for host families. Maybe you or someone that is listening to this pod that you may know, or somebody that you may know in general is interested in potentially joining our host family program. You can feel free to have them look me up on the website. My contact information is on there. And get in touch about potentially jumping on into that program as well. Or if you ever have any questions regarding things that are coming up on the schedule, anything that we can answer here at the Wild Things, of course, we're thrilled to be able to do that for you. Our number is 866-456-WILD, or you can just use the old one, which isn't as fancy, but it's 724-250-9555 to call the office. And again, we can go over everything with you, as we want to make sure you are a bigger part of the 2025 season, that you become a bigger fan, and that we give you the experience necessary to keep coming out. And of course, encourage you to keep telling your friends about how great the experience is here down in Washington. So again, that's just it's a little bit of a shameless plug, but we would certainly appreciate you joining the host family program, becoming a season ticket member, really becoming a bigger part of what we do down here, all in the interest of winning, all in the interest of affordable family entertainment that helps to create, like we've been plugging for years, to create forever fans. That is truly something that we are striving to do day in and day out. In the end, a reminder to subscribe and to follow the podcast on the various platforms that you may be tuned in on. and smash the bell for new episode notifications and content notifications on our different social media platforms. We're available on most major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeart Podcasts, and in video form on YouTube. For now, thank you, my friends, for being somebody who sirred it. I would say on the Wild Things Baseball Network, but this really isn't the Wild Things Baseball Network. It's an extension of it. Thank you for being somebody who sirred it. Here on Into the Wild, the official podcast of the Washington Wild Things. We'll catch you next time.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.